Hello, good evening, everyone. Uh, Depending on where you are, good morning as well, or good afternoon. So glad to have you all on board. So we have a guest speaker here, who's going to be taking us through the topic, which is the the future-ready business analyst designing value in an agentic AI world. Tosin Shobukola is going to be doing justice to that topic. And before he comes on board, please permit me to read his profile. Tosin, Tosin Shobukola is an AI expert, published author, an enterprise transformation leader working at the intersection of artificial intelligence and data protection in large and regulated organizations. As managing principal at Medulla Works, he designs proprietary AI platforms and security-led SaaS solutions, including Mangrove and Vault Grid, that help organizations protect sensitive data, secure digital operations, and scale AI innovation without losing control of their intellectual property. With over 20 years of experience, across global environments, he is known for translating complex technology into practical strategies that enable resilient, secure, and future-ready enterprises. So permit me to welcome on board Tosin Shobukola. Tosin, the floor is yours now. Tosin, we can't hear you. Yeah,
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me now?
great. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone, for this opportunity to be with you at the IIBA Nigeria Community Meeting for June 2026. Thank you very much, Topwire, for scouting and finding me out on LinkedIn. And it's my pleasure to be here with you. If you can hear me loud and clear. It would be nice to see your emoji. You can at least clap for me, or you can smile at me, or just do something to know that this is visible. Thank you very much, everyone. Okay, thank you, Ayo. Thank you, everybody. Yes. Thank you, Sean. Thank you. Thank you, Lola. And thank you, everyone, for that. Okay, before we go, I'd like to know just the feel of the room. How many of you have used AI one way or the other? You can tell me by dropping a chat, or you can, if you're allowed to unmute yourself, please unmute yourself and tell me if you've ever used AI one way or the other. Nobody's talking. Can you hear me? Am I clear? Am I loud enough? Okay, I would use a thumb up there. Okay. Any other person? I know it sounds like a very stupid question, but just indulge me or oblige me. Any other person who has used AI one way or the other? You can drop a message in the chat window. No response. Okay, we'll go again. How many people use AI regularly in their day-to-day work? Thank you very much, Sean. How many people use AI regularly in their day-to-day work? Ayo, thank you. Any other person? Great. Thank you, Lola. Thank you, Queen. Okay. Okay. Yes. Queen, good. Any other person? Is it only 3 people out of 17 that use AI every day? Okay. Shion says it does it for deep research. Great. Okay. Good. How many people use AI for daily practice as a BA, not just for generic stuff? As a BA, how many people use AI as a BA? So you're building your PRD, you're building your project plan, you're doing your transformation strategy, and what have you. How many people use AI for as a daily tool? Is your very much your go-to, is your body. You can almost not live without it. Okay, maybe AI is a big word. How many people use ChatGPT? Okay, now the truth is coming out. Okay, Dominic says I use it every day. Sean uses it for deep research. He uses Miro AI for process mapping. Great. Who else? Who else? Who else? Who else? Let's see what we are doing. Let's see what we are doing. Let's know what we are doing. I hope your bosses are not here, so you're not gonna get a query, and your secrets will not be leaked. Trust me, your secrets are safe with me. You can trust me, I'm not going to report you. Just this is confession time. How many people use AI to work smart? How many people use AI to work smart? I promise I would not report you, and I'm not going to say it on LinkedIn that the business analysis analysts in Nigeria are all using AI. If you are managing one, please scrutinize them. So this is a heart to heart. Brothers, sisters, cousins, how many people use AI in their day-to-day work? Okay, beautiful. Lola, I think I need to come and sit with you and we need to just have some long conversation. You need to come and show me how you do this. So if they shut down AI now, maybe Lola is going to get in trouble. Okay, that's fine. Great. Queen uses AI for BRDs. Great. Okay, so I'm going to take this conversation to another level with more than just BRDs. Some of these things I'm going to say tonight or today may not be so straightforward. Well, no, let me not use that right. May be new to you, but it's the way you need to be thinking so that you can position yourself properly. I have a presentation somewhere. I think I need to record it that I've done that talks about the new world of work and how work is going to change in the future and what we need to do to ensure that our work is properly documented, our work is all the things we need to do to be ready for the future. Once I'm done with it, I can share with Topware to share it with you guys. But I won't be able to go into that today because of time. So we'll go into the details of how AI works and what it can do for us. So today I'm toasting as Tokwe has done very well to introduce me and everything. And I'm an enterprise guy. Yesterday I was having a conversation with somebody and it was like, yeah, we're doing a lot of things in our organization. And I said, yes, I'm a polymath. So I'm a polymath, which means, so this enterprise technology means I know a lot about a lot. So almost anything on the enterprise, I have a very solid idea of how they work. I have a very solid idea of how they operate. I started out in programming, moved into data analytics. Today I do AI. I founded a nonprofit, Analytics Africa, and I worked at Microsoft for a couple of years. I also worked at InterSwitch for a couple of years also. Today I run my own ship called Medulla Works. So today we'll talk about why we need to evolve as business analysts. We'll talk about the new AI landscape. AI is evolving rapidly. And we'll talk about the new BA role. We'll talk about some tools. We'll talk about how to do the work. We'll talk about the risks. And for those of you who are working in big companies, how you can leverage AI. And then we look at the AI, the business analyst of the future. So today, everybody, well, it is assumed that a lot of people, let me not say everybody, a lot of people today use AI to do many, many things. And whether you like to use AI or not, I always tell people, whether you like it or not, it is, if you don't go to it, it's going to come to you. And let's begin to see the ways in which these happen. So, for example, when I was younger, or many years ago, a lot of my friends got jobs as MTN call center operators. Well, we began to see some intelligence happening whereby at some point, after 5, 6 years, most of them lost their job because automation came into play. And today, if you call MTN, before you get somebody to pick, it's a long journey. Why? Because they've reduced drastically their call center staff and they've automated a lot of things. In your bank today, I used to call GTB and everything. A few months ago, I tried to call GTB and I could not talk to them. They sent me to WhatsApp. The same thing with MTN. I tried to call MTN the other day. I couldn't call them even. So today is not even an IVR system. They send me to WhatsApp, at least GTB and MTN, they send me to WhatsApp. And once they send me to WhatsApp, it's not, sometimes it's an agent, a real person who is talking to me. But many times before I talk to the real person, I'm going to be connected to a chatbot who's going to interact with me and guide me. So even if you don't want to use ChatGPT or you don't want all those things they're saying, please, I beg, I can't use it now. It's not for me. It is going to come to you because organizations see that it's cheaper, it's smarter, it saves them a lot of money, and their WhatsApp will never get tired. The API will never get tired. If it gets tired, they put more servers. If it gets tired, they buy a bigger server or they buy a bigger subscription. And it's never going to be tired. It's never going to ask for a promotion. It's never going to go on maternity leave. It's never going to go on salary break. It works 24/7. And for a fraction of what, it's never going to ask for a salary increase every year. So organizations make rational decisions before they make emotional decisions. So no matter how emotional they want to be, they are going to make rational financial decisions. And one of the things that is going to allow them to make rational financial decisions is AI. So no matter how much they want to keep you in the system, no matter how much they love you, no matter how much of a performer you are, if they do the math, they can only try to keep you for 3 months, 6 months, and give you long time notice to go and come back. They're still going to ask you to go, or they're going to reduce the number of staff so that the few guys that are now existing can start writing AI, using AI. So AI is everywhere. It touches every function, every workflow. And in the past, it was just for text. But today, it takes a lot of graphics. It does a lot of things. It builds PowerPoint slides. It can do research. It can do research and you write a paper that looks like a professor written paper with references, with abstracts, 60 pages, 80 pages, 90 pages, all well delivered. It's super intelligent now. It can do things that you did not ask it to do. We saw AI playing football matches. We've seen AI doing intelligent stuff. Of course, there are some things that are not AI yet, but people have claimed it is AI because it's now a funky word to use. So I can even come and tell you that this presentation that is being done, I'm using AI to do the presentation just to look great. So there's a dichotomy of a lot of automation, but not every automation is AI. But the hard fact is, even automation is becoming smarter because at the base of that automation, there would be some AI. So if I'm writing software now, I don't need to know how to write software. Like I started my practice in coding 23 years ago. I started it in coding. And now I stopped coding in 2014 because they were just changing the thing all the time. And I couldn't be, it's not me you'll be stressing. I just left it and I focused on data. Data is consistent, data is structured, data is organized. So I stuck to data. But now I don't, a lot of people that I work with are losing their jobs. Last week, one of my younger sisters needed to build a website. And the guy said he was going to build it for an amount. And when we said, okay, let's start, he suddenly doubled the price of the stuff on us. And for me, it was okay. I was going to pay him. But again, I felt, no, you don't, it's not just fair. You're not being fair. And he kept insisting that, well, this is how much I'm going to collect. After we had agreed on a price,
before. And I just got upset with him, and I'm like, even because I was going to pay for my sister, and I said, I'm not going to pay this guy. I'm going to pay for a tool. And within 45 minutes, 30 minutes, I had already given my sister 4 mock-ups to pick one from. And she said, oh, I like this one. So I wanted to even go back and give the guy, say, okay, build it like, but I said, no, there's another tool that after I have the mock-up, will generate the website for me and get all the pictures that my sister needs. So I'm not going back to him anymore. He's lost his job. Whatever, even the small money he wanted to collect, he's not collecting it anymore because I'm going to put that small money on that tool. And he's not going to build only my sister's website. I need to upgrade my corporate website. He's going to upgrade my corporate website also. I have some websites that I quickly build, some HTML pages that I built with Google Gemini. I need to move them into WordPress. That's true. That price that I'm not paying that guy is going to give me about 6 websites. It's going to give me about 6 websites. And if I sit down thoroughly, I'll finish those 6 websites in 2 days. So that was one of the reasons why I left coding. So somebody just lost his job. So work has evolved. Work has evolved. So we have moved from paperwork. We have moved to process automation. We have moved to digital transformation. We have moved to knowledge assistance, generative AI. And now we have moved to agentic. Along the lines of all these things is mobile. So we never really stayed in a mobile phase. Mobile got injected into all these things. Mobile got injected. So today you can do cloud from your mobile. You can do generative AI from your mobile. All these things are paradigms that mobile is also involved in. So today it is no more digital that we are talking about. It is autonomy. It is autonomy. So what's the new AI landscape looking like? Like I said, we started from automation. We moved into generative AI. We moved into machine learning. Sorry, we moved into machine learning. Then we moved into generative AI. Then we moved to Copilot, support, augmentation. In that other presentation, we talk about automation and augmentation. But now from automation and augmentation, we've moved into AI agents. And from AI agents, we're now going into chained agents. That is one agent handing over like a relay race. So to just imagine an AI agent like Usain Bolt running 100 meters dash or Sherika Richardson running 100 meters dash alone. But now look at this now coming into Usain Bolt and the whole Jamaican team, or Sherika, not Sherika, what's her name now? It's not Sherika, is it Shakari? Shakari, not Sherika. Sherika is Jamaican. Shakari, American sprinter running the 4x100 meters race, going all at great pace. So before we continue, I'm going to give a couple of definitions. I'm not going to be reading definitions for you one by one, but at least you can read the slides. You're free to take screenshots. You will get the slides later on. So what is agentic AI? It is a system where independent AI tools work together in concert to get something done. So today, we would ask ChatGPT, design a BRD for me. It will design a BRD document for you. And that's what we have with ChatGPT. But we can now go forward to a level whereby you can say, I just finished a 2-hour meeting with a customer. Take this meeting transcript, generate a BRD, generate a PRD, generate a tech PRD, generate a marketing PRD, and take it on and on and on until we get a project plan, an award letter template, and a work breakdown structure /SOW. Bam, 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 bam. You finish that meeting, you drop the transcript, you go for lunch. Food is, documents are ready by the time you come back from lunch. That is what agentic AI looks like. So it's more than just a chat bot that is responding to you. It's a lot of things done step by step to be able to get a result. Now, an agent will definitely do things independently requires some planning, requires some memory, and because it needs to hand over stuff from each other. Just imagine a relay race where they start the race and then they give Usain Bolt the baton, and Usain Bolt does not remember that he needs to run and give the baton to the next person. He just starts saying, I'm hyped, I'm happy, and he starts running. He gets past the person who he's meant to hand over to, and he keeps running. That is lack of memory. Or he runs and goes to give it to the American guy. So that memory, past actions, past outcomes, handover, all those things are necessary. Of course, we still also need to know that an agent calls a lot of tools, external functions, APIs, databases, applications to do a lot of things. An agent also reviews its own output and revises it before handing it back to whoever sent it. And this requires some coordination. And it also comes also, I'll talk about the MCP, the Model Context Protocol, that lets it connect to external tools. So today, ChatGPT will connect to Google Drive. Today, Claude will connect to Canva. Gemini will connect to the whole Google ecosystem, including your Gmail, your Notebook LM, and what have you, MCP. And then several agents are collaborating together in a multi-agent system to give us a full workflow. Now, what makes Agentic AI different from all the other agents? In the typical one, I call on somebody, I give it a rule, and it responds. But in Agentic, when I give it a request, it gives a plan, it reasons, it uses various tools and software, it coordinates the activity, and then executes. So whereas in a typical agentic, in a typical workflow, generative AI context, I would have something that allows me to talk with the system. However, in the agentic AI context, it is a flow. It is never static. So in this system over here, in a generative AI multi-level ecosystem, we would have different agents doing one thing or the other. And they are handing over, as you can see, there's a lot of exchange going on, a lot of flows, a lot of outputs. And of course, at some point, we will always need a human in the loop to verify or validate what is done. At the end of the day, what happens is we get a very beautiful system output that allows us to take a decision or to be able to move on to the next level. So either decisions, insights are ready, documents are ready, system updates are ready, and everything can happen. You have compliance, you have processes, you have research, you have testing, you have aid reporting, and sometimes you have a coordinator who is like your coach or who is like your orchestra conductor who tells each person what to do and when to do it. Am I making sense here? Am I speaking French, German, Latin, or do you understand what I'm saying? Can I have an emoji can I have a thumbs up if you are following? Can I have a round of applause if you are following? If I'm losing you, you can give me a thumbs down or a frown. We have 34 people here, only 2 people are responding. Does it seem like I'm so boring? If I have lost you, please give me a thumbs down. If you're not following, just say no, I don't get, you have lost me. I would not be able to continue if I'm not sure where people stand. Only 3 people have responded. Mr. Tokwe, could it be that our members are at a party while they are logged onto this call?
They're actually responding.
Okay.
There are the
Okay.
emojis, clapping
Yeah.
and thumbs
Okay.
up. coming up.
Thank
Yes. Yeah.
you. Okay.
You are doing well.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's continue then. So today, what does a typical BA look like? In those days, you just do requirement gathering, elicitation, write BRD, create processes, support projects. But today, you are not meant to be doing this anymore. This is meant to be for the guy who is on IT. This is meant to be for the guy who is an intern or the copper that just resumed after coming out of orientation camp. We are meant to, for you to now start thinking about outcomes. It's meant for you now to start thinking about capabilities. It is meant for you now to start thinking about AI workflows. It is meant for you to start thinking about how to design enterprise value, to start saying, what is the solution? Where do we get this now? What does this do for us? How do we change the landscape? How do we get improvements? How do we turn things around? Those are the things that is expected of you as a BA today. So where are your competencies today? Of course, we move into the Babok areas where we talk about your business analysis planning, your elicitation, your RLCM, your strategic analysis, your designing process, and your solution evaluation. The way it works now is that AI will have to be integrated into every of these steps. We cannot do them in isolation. They now need some AI integration. And in the future, and the BA will move just from strategy process design to have all these skills. So typically today, the BA is going to have just these skills. But now, the BA in future, we need to start having a lot of these two middle skills. Today, you would have the business skills at this end of the spectrum, and then you have the technical skills at that end of the spectrum. But today, a BA now needs to start thinking of all these things together. Many, many times, the organization may be far from this. Many, many times, your organization may not even be thinking about this. But if you are going to survive in the next 10, 20, 30 years, this is the things that is going to be required of you. I remember when I asked, what do you use AI for? Somebody mentioned that she uses it to review code or to write code or something like that. So we are beginning to see BAs and product managers dancing around code, getting mock-ups. So before you needed to do some Figma, you need to sit down and drag and drop in Miro or Figma. Now you just drag and drop with a prompt. So your work is done, which means you can tiptoe into the development work. You can tiptoe into process design. You can tiptoe into process optimization. You can even say, this is how the process works, and then correct the process for me. So if you don't know how to write prompts, which means you cannot even use ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude to get process output that is right. Because one risk that we have is that people now become experts overnight with wrong information by sitting down with a chatbot. I spent the past 2 weeks arguing with a customer who suddenly became an expert because he has put a lot of info into Claude and then is challenging 10, 15 years of hands-on experience. And he's saying, based on the research. So where do we draw the line? You need to, because the good news is that the bad news is that your chatbot will give you whatever you ask it. Your chatbot will give you whatever we ask it. It's only in some cases that the chatbot is objective enough to say this is a bad way. Many times, if you ask it, it will say yes. Then when you now get the correct info and say, but why are you not saying, say, this is a better way? So that is one of the risks that we stand to check. But you need to know the kind of prompts to drive in, to get the best results. You need to know how the agents will work so that the agent doesn't wake up tomorrow and have a mind of its own. You need to know how to orchestrate the agents so that they are connected and doing things the right way at the right time. You need to know how to connect the MCP so that you are not giving the MCP, the agent, access to your whole financial statement of the organization or the core banking. I'll digress a little. I've seen a bank where they expose their workflow platform to the internet, and then that workflow platform was hacked and money was moved across. It is not AI, it was just general automation, but it is a similar process that we need to get ready for as we begin. So while we have the business capability here, we also have the agent capability. This image was generated with AI, so you might see some spelling errors there. But these business capabilities now need to be properly mapped into AI skills. When we map these business capabilities into AI skills, then AI agents can take them up and start giving us solid business outcomes. But they have to be properly done. So what are the platforms that do all this agent automation in practice? I will not be able to do a practical session for you today, but I'll be able to give you some deep things to think about. And probably at another time, we might be able to have a hands-on demo if you would oblige me. Now, we have things like Claude, which everybody uses today. We have the Microsoft Copilot, which is also a very strong contender, especially if you are in a corporate enterprise. In most corporates, you are going to have Microsoft 365, you are going to have SharePoint, you are going to have a couple of Microsoft projects in your organization. In that case, you cannot run away or avoid using Microsoft Copilot. We also have GitHub for those who write code. And then we have an open source agent platform, Clawbot, that goes around and does a lot of things that Claude Cowork does. So we have Claude Cowork and Claude Code that compete kind of with this open Claw. So if you don't want to pay for Claude, you can actually install OpenClaw or Clawbot on your system, and it will do a lot of the things that Claude for Work or Claude Copilot will do for you. However, this takes us back to this slide: risks, ethic, compliance, and assurance. These are things that we need to think about. These are things we need to always have at the back of our mind. So while we celebrate all these tools, we need to know that there is a risk in that. Then there's also Open Web UI, which is a self-hosted chat platform that connects to a lot of tools at the back end. If you don't want to use the general AI platforms, Open Web UI also allows you to get a lot of things done. So what are, as a BA, how can these things work out for me today? So we have a lot of tools here, starting from ChatGPT or basic copilots. We have Otter or Teams or Zoom, and there are some open source ones that you can install on your PC that doesn't need you to pay these fees if you need to be recording or you need to be recapping. We also have these things inside Copilot, these copilots inside our documents. We have Claude in Excel and Word. We have copilots in Word and Excel. Then we have diagram makers like Claude. We have ChatGPT. We have Gemini. We have Napkin. We have Miro. And then we have automation tools like N8N, Zapier, Make. And we also have knowledge and note-taking tools, which include Confluence and Notion. These are tools that allow us to do things at a mere mortal level. So you don't have to be super intelligent or code savvy or tech savvy to be able to use these tools. We'll now move on to another context set that is a little bit more complex than before. In Agentic AI, we mentioned the concept of MCP. But before I go into MCP, does anyone know what we call an API? If you know what we call an API, you can unmute yourself, or you can type what an API does, what you think an API does or is, into the chat window.
Can I try?
Is that Tope or any other person?
Yeah, this is Kobe.
Oh, good, Kobe. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, good evening. So an API is more or less like an interface through which applications speak to each other. So if, let's say, for instance, application A wants to interact with application B. Application B would have to use an API to be able to talk to application A.
Very good. Very good. So without sharing usernames and passwords, applications in different entities can talk to each other. So I remember when I was in IntoSwitch, one of the things that we used to do was to connect, a lot of people used to connect to us so that they can accept payments on their websites. That is what Paystack is doing today and Flutterwave. So that is a kind of API system whereby my website is in its own place, the payment system is in its own place, and then you connect them through a process that allows you to be able to have a payment page on your website. That is it. Now, in AI, the API concept for AI is what we call the MCP. Because what they have done now is to make integration available for mere mortals. What does that mean? In the past, I would need to have some understanding of how to integrate Claude to Canva and to Jira and to all those kind of things. But with MCPs, I'm able to connect Claude to all those components without necessarily understanding the integrated stuff. So we use it like our USB port. All you need to have is just a USB device. Once you have a USB device, it allows you to connect to almost anything. So whether it is a headphone, whether it is a charger, whether it is a speaker, as long as it has a USB port, it will work. It also means it probably has a driver on your PC. Now, that is what MCP does. An MCP is a very, very solid component that we use in connecting to systems. So before MCP, we would need to have custom coding. But today now, if I want to connect Claude or ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot, I just need an MCP for Jira. I don't need to understand custom code anymore. So we just set up the custom MCP system and boom, we can connect. So today, what this allows us to do is that through my application, my AI chatbot, I can connect to all the systems. I can actually even write a query to say, give me all the successful transactions for customer ID XXX on the 24th. So I can use a chatbot to connect to my database if my database system has an MCP server. And I can do that for Jira and all the other guys. So what are the things that we need an MCP to do? We can use it to do different things. It needs actions, it needs data, and it needs instructions. So once we are able to feed an MCP server with the necessary things it does, then we can start sending instructions to it. We can start sending instructions to it, and then it can do what it wants to do. These instructions or context is what Claude will refer to as skills. It's actually context for your MCP. So without an MCP system, your AI is just a chatbot. But with an MCP system, it now becomes super intelligent and can do many other things. So when we compare MCPs versus APIs, APIs connect systems, but MCPs connect AIs to systems. So two websites can connect independently with an API. But if you want to connect an AI tool to a system, you need an MCP. Of course, can you use an API? Yes. But that is very, very much 2012, 21, or 22. In 2025, 2026, we would use an MCP. Am I boring? Or should I continue? Or it is too detailed? Or it is
You're
too
not.
deep?
You're on point.
Thank you very much, Kobe. User, somebody called user said I am not. Kobe said I am on point. User, please change your name so that we can call you by your real name, please. Okay, thank you, Shion. Thank you, Shion. Thank you, Lola. Yes, thank you, Robert. Yes, you're perfect, correct. Thank you, Robert. I think the leaderboard shows Shion as most participating, followed by Lola and Kobe. I'm not going to count Tokwe, followed by Lola and Kobe. So then Aisha is coming in fourth. Shion is very, very much engaged. So let's see if anybody can take them out of the leadership spots. So in the life of a BA, you would typically have to do a lot of manual work. But with an MCP as a BA, a lot of your work is automated. And then there's a lot of handover. We are beginning to see MCP work, like I mentioned. Jira, Google ChatGPT, all these things are allowing you to now integrate with platforms. Those are all MCP kind of stuff. Okay, let's keep moving. I'm not going to bore you anymore because I'll skip slides to move on to more important things. So when we have MCPs, AI discovers your tools, which means you move from business capability to business process on one side. And then you're able to talk to enterprise systems and get business outcomes. So for your chatbot to become a worker, it is an MCP that needs to be in between. So Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, Kimi, Manus, all those things are just chatbots. No matter how glorified or how much you are paying, they are all chatbots. But there are things behind them, is agents, MCPs, that now make them become more intelligent than basic regular chatbots. So what this does is that I have a requirement skill, I have all these skills, I can save them somewhere, and then now begin to do some MCP work. So let's go into the BA life cycle. And how does an agent work in this life cycle? Today, you would typically start with an interview or a souvenir or whatever that may be. Under normal circumstances, you would take notes and then you go and fill a template. But if you are working smart, you can have an agent that will transcribe. When you finish that transcription, you have something that turns that into action points. In fact, if your transcription tool is smart, I've used Notion AI, I've used Zoom AI. They have amazing transcription tools. I think I used Fireflies recently from somebody, and he was also doing a good work. But I know Notion, Teams, I don't know what is going on in Microsoft, but Notion, Zoom, they do a very solid job of converting your conversation into action points. Zoom has been doing this for almost 2 years or 3 years now. Once they will not just say, Tokwe said, Kobe said, Sheon answered, and Sheon said, verily, verily, and he said, I don't agree. No, it will do it in a very nice way so that it becomes solid outputs that you can use and grow from there. Okay, so when we now do this, we now have an agent that is able to turn these actions into requirements. And we're able to break them into functional requirements and non-functional requirements. When we break it into functional requirements and non-functional requirements, we are able to now send it into some development cycle. At some point, we can now also still build our test agents that tests systems for us. At the end of the day, we can have all these things stored in a library. So again, like I mentioned, it's a relay race that transforms and transfers knowledge, skills, and info from one plan to another until we get a solid result. So regardless of the output, this output at the beginning may just be the initiation phase. This output here might be your approval phase, might be a SOW phase. It might be your week 4, and it can also work in your week 8. But we can actually build this thing to work and connect from one place to another. So typically, when you do human work, you get a lead. You lead the interview. However, when you lead that interview, you just be asking questions and be writing notes. With AI in the mix now, you can use AI to capture all that you need. With AI in the mix now, you can now draft your requirements, and all you have to do is to validate. With AI in the mix now, you can do your business process, and then you can review. If there are risks, AI can detect the risk for you. And you can decide whether it is a valid risk or not. And then you see, now a lot of things that we have done. Has anybody ever had an experience? I was reading a grant letter for someone the other day, and the grant letter was convoluted. I read it like 6 times. And then after reading it, I removed the most sensitive information in that document. I converted the PDF to Word. I removed the sensitive information in that document. I slammed it into Gemini, and I told it to distill it for me. And then there are some things that were in that document that I never read, even though I had read it 6 times, that it brought out for me. Has that happened to anybody before? Has that happened to anybody before? 2 days ago, last week, I was reading an agreement to start some work. And in fact, there were some parts that the thing was not aligning with me. They were giving me some terms and conditions. And then there was one line item that I never saw. And then the system brought it out for me. I said, this is not acceptable. It was not even a risk in my own perspective, but it brought it out and said it's a risk. Has that happened to anybody before?
Yes.
Very good. So when you have used your AI system to do this kind of mapping and detection, it will help you find out those risks that you never even saw. Again, it takes us back to this slide. That tells us that you must have these skills. And you must have this at the back of your mind. So for you to be a BA, we agree that you have all these skills. But to transform these skills into something that will work for you, you must have these skills and you must have this at the back of your mind. So don't be a happy-go-lucky person thinking all is well, even though it's not well inside the well. Because if you don't challenge the system the right way, you will not get the right results. Good news is you can actually ask it to give you a prompt that gets the necessary information for you. Let me see. Maybe during the discussion session, I'll log on to my ChatGPT. When I do my brainstorming with AI, maybe I've been brainstorming for 6 weeks or a month, and I now want to commence the project. I have asked the system, I've been able to generate a prompt that will go now, and all those things I asked, oh, can it fly? Oh, can it swim? Oh, what data source can it connect to? Oh, give me the architecture. Oh, do this and that for me. 1 second, please. Okay. Do this and that for me. I have a master prompt that goes into the system and now generates a PRD. I'm not a BA, but it gives me a PRD. I've done it in such a way that that PRD is like a solid document that I can even give another prompt, another chat prompt, and start from scratch. Or if I've not discussed anything with you, I will give you that document. You have an idea as a developer of what we are trying to build. You have an idea as a developer of what we are trying to design. Sometimes I ask you to put a go-to-market strategy inside. So it puts the funnel, the marketing funnel and everything inside. So those are skills that you need to have. If I have time, I will share with you a compilation of some of those prompts before we close. Otherwise, like something I can send to you to be able to use. Okay. So what are some other risks that we have when we are working? We have the hallucination thing. For me, hallucination is a big deal. So one thing I do is that when I'm working, I always give my system source documents to work with. So you can imagine I was the happiest person when I saw that we can now have projects in ChatGPT and Claude, which allows us to put in documents. And also I was one of the happiest people when I saw that in Notebook LM, we can integrate Google Gemini. So which means I can write on a topic that I don't know about, because I'll just put 10 books in the Notebook LM and tell it to refer to those 10 books, and then tell it that for everything that you are getting from those books, give me the reference inside that textbook so that I can be sure that all the information in this book is original. So what that means is after doing that, I can tell it to now give me a version that does not refer to the book, and I can have my thorough article ready. So that's, what am I saying? If you are writing on a topic, if you are designing something, if you are reviewing something, make sure that you have source documents that don't allow it to hallucinate, so that it is reading from those documents and it's not just getting stuff from the internet. We can also design our system so that we don't suffer from prompt injection. We can make sure that we don't have data leakage. Bias can go one way or the other, but I see that chat bots are working against bias. If you put in a picture and tell it to give you a race, it may not answer you because race can be sensitive. If you tell it to tell you if something is bad or good, it will tell you, I would not say it is bad, but it's also not good. It has a nice way of talking so that they've trained all those things to it. You also need to have approval gates, which is what we need to have here. So at every handover point, don't just take whatever this guy gives. You need to verify what it's doing, which is why we also have this human AI, HCA, I've forgotten the full name, HCA, human AI. I'll get that word, I can't remember right now. But whatever AI is doing, there's always an approval requirement for you to check it and approve it. Okay, so there's also, this is from agents. With MCPs, we also need to audit whatever it's doing. It might use the wrong tool, it can access wrong systems, we might give it the permission to do what we did not send it to do. So whenever we are building MCPs, so please don't just jump into your office tomorrow or Monday morning and said, I met one great guy called Tosin Shobukola. When are we building our next MCP? Please have mercy on your dev and your tech guys. Don't rush them into trouble, because when the thing happens now, they will get the trouble and you will walk away. So let's do this with wisdom. Even if you are going to ask them to build an MCP, know that there are risks. Even if you are going to ask them to build agents, be very much aware of the risks. I go back again to that slide. Whatever you say, do, or think, don't just think you are Superman or Superwoman or Wonder Man or Captain Nigeria. Always think of the risks. There's nothing you will do in AI if you're not thinking of the risks, you're asking for trouble. Solid cooked beans trouble. Okay, so as we round up, let's make sure that we have our AI plans. Yes, human in the loop. That's what I was talking about. Human in the loop is a big deal. Let's make sure that we have the necessary approval gates. MCP must never be exposed raw. Whatever we do, AI plan, human reviews, AI executes, human audits. A human in the loop means a person approves before it starts, a person monitors while it is acting, and a person checks it out before it is finalized. So you need to have a governance framework. You need to be able to set up trust in your testing or your systems. You need to have transparency. And you as a business analyst, you're not just a business analyst using AI, you're now a governance leader or a governance champion. So let's see how this works in the enterprise. Large scale. Thank you very much, Vera. Yes, human in the loop. You did that ahead of me. Any questions before we go deeper? Am I losing you? Are you loving me? Are you hating me? Are you bored? Thank you, Albert. I love you too. Only Albert loves me. Thank you, Yakini. Thank you, Kobe, for the heart. Thank you, Sean. Sean doesn't love me. He's just with me. Thank you. The ladies, have I lost you? Okay, Sean Valentina. Thank you, Sean. You are here. Okay, you don't want to love me. Okay, but are you following if you don't love me? All right. Chinwe, are you lost? No, no. Okay, thank you, Lola. Okay, great. So in a business environment, core enterprise environment, your InterSwitch, your bank, your MTN, your large enterprise, you may decide to have something that integrates across the enterprise, which is, okay, Chinwe, you can have your requirements agent, you can have your process agent, you can have a compliance agent, and then you can have these two levels here can actually be used to design what we call like a BAOS, which you're going to see in the next slide now. These two levels here can be used to design what we call a BAOS that now plugs into your tools. So once you are done with whatever you want to do, this can now come into play and call your end-to-end systems. So you have already designed your projects. This would typically be your front end. This would typically be your front end. This would typically be your front end where people can start connecting. And then regardless of the journey in which you are, the guy can run loops across the system. And when it runs loops across the system, we can use Claude or ChatGPT, whichever is cheaper. And then you can do some automation, call an MCP wherever, and then your automation can also integrate into whatever you need to do, and then give you your final results as required. So this is what it looks like in practice. You can take a screenshot of this or take a picture with your camera. So what this talks about here is that I'm trying to get my laser pointer. This is how we can get to design a full-blown business analysis operating system. This is something we can consider building if you have enough demand for it. This is something we can consider building. The MCP parts may be a bit tough to build, but we can be able to build the agent that does everything based on Claude, based on N8N, and then we can jump down to the results over here. And then we can consider an optional inclusion of the MCP part. But the top level part where you have your history, you have your library, you have your document, you have your specialist guys, which are your various agents, all this can be built. Okay. Now, as we continue to grow as BAs, there's something that we call maturity model. The maturity model talks about how skilled you are or how AI savvy that you are. So a typical BA will start from chatbots, go to copilots, move to reusable skills, and then from reusable skills, we'll move to multi-agent teams, and then we have a governed enterprise that is autonomous. So we talk of the initial level, we talk of the managed level, we talk of the standardized level, we talk of the collaboration level. This is where you begin to use AI agents to collaborate. We talk about the optimized level, which is the peak of this. So if you want to design your life skill as a BA, this is a good screenshot to have to paste on your wall and mark it and tick it as you achieve each level. So in 2026 and going forward, don't start asking what are the requirements. Start asking about the outcomes. So move off from being a regular business analyst. I'll come back to it in a moment, Albert. Move on from being a regular business analyst. Move on to becoming an orchestrator. Albert, I'll come back to it. Just relax, please. Move on to becoming an orchestrator. Move on to building agents that do various things for you, and then move on to integrating to enterprise systems. So you need to be able to know that AI does not replace business analysts. AI changes the way work is done. Risk and governance is super important. Skills become reusable assets, and business analysts should become more intelligent capability designers than just requirements compilers. I will come back to these slides I just skipped now. What we need to know is that if we are creating maps today, you need to be able to move from document requirements gathering, process map creations, people coordination, project support, output deliveries, to be able to start designing capabilities, to be able to start designing intelligent workflows, to be able to start designing orchestration between humans and AI. Don't be the guy who takes AI as gospel truth. Don't be the guy who thinks humans are smarter than AI. No, we need to have an AI-human integration and augmentation. That's very important. Now, don't think of just supporting projects. Think of how we can shape strategy in the enterprise. Think of how you can also manage digital workers, auditing, logging, and all those kind of things. And then how can we get business outcomes from systems? All those are very, very important. Just as I close, I will talk about very quickly what my organization does if it's not out of place in 30 seconds. We do custom software development. We do product owner, enterprise architecture, business analysis consulting. We support with migrations. We have some platforms, which is private AI, proprietary AI platforms, a cybersecurity platform, an AI platform that is so that you don't go to Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini. This is going to be launched middle of July. And at the end of the day, people will be able to connect to all their favorite LLMs from just one interface. We also do a lot of training programs. I've had a conversation with your president about training programs, which he can brief you all on, and all that. So with that, it brings me to the end of my presentation. If you want to connect with me, you can check me out on my website, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn. And the room is now open for questions and discussions. But instead of leaving the slide here, I'll go back so that Albert and other people can take the screenshot. But I'm literally done, and I'm available for questions.
So can you go back to your contact details?
You'll get it in a moment.
All right.
Thank you so much, Tosin. That was impressive, insightful, and you've really unveiled a whole lot to us. So here's the question time. Feel free to ask Tosin. He's here to answer it.
You're welcome, Albert. Questions, comments, feedback. What did you learn? What did you gain? Yes, Robert.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Tosin, for that presentation. My question is around risk in making use of this some of these AI tools, right? Because I worked on a project where the client speaks French, and I don't really understand French, so I sort of have to use AI tools to manage the sessions, meetings, translate documents, and all of that, right? So I just wanted to ask, what is the way of managing risk in this kind of situation? I know one of the things that it did was basically more of like putting it in the contract that we are going to be using AI and all of that, to manage some of the work, right? But the issue now is there are certain documents that you probably may get, and it's difficult for you to maybe see certain things that are more sensitive. So how do you manage risk in this kind of situation when you're using AI related tools that's more of like public facing?
Is this a personal business or a big, large business?
It's a large business. It's a financial institution.
Like a bank?
Yes.
Okay, so two ways. If it is a large business, then they have spare cash to play around with. One of the things I'm going to ask that they do is to get someone who understands both languages, first of all. So it is in these kind of environments that people who understand both languages now begin to thrive. So for those of you who paid attention to French, yeah, I'm going to get to that, Busola. Those of you who paid attention in your French classes while in school, that is where your star begins to shine. Unfortunately, in West Africa or in Anglophone Africa, we are very bad in learning multiple languages. We just learn our local tongue and English, and that's it. In the Francophone, many of them, and Arabic Africa, which is more or less Francophone Africa also, they always learn three languages, even in Europe too, because in Europe, you might be speaking one language and your neighbors are speaking two different languages. So in Francophone Africa, Northern Africa, you see them, and some Middle East countries and a good part of Europe, you usually see them learning three or four languages. So what I would say, Robert, is that the first thing is get a dual language expert. He may not be, let's put you, Robert, at a level 7/10 or a 6/10, but I'll get either an intern or an intern or like a freshman who will be able to do some basic interpretation for us. In some cases, I would probably just get in a worst case scenario, we'll probably just invest in an interpreter who will do stuff for us. The challenge is this: when you use AI and some of these tools to do your translation, it does not give contextual meaning to the actual terms. So I'm a Yoruba man. If I say, let's go forward, let's say it's a Yoruba conversation now, I will say, let's go forward. What does go forward mean? It means move from where you are standing and go forward. But go forward can be an approval. Go forward can be an upgrade. You understand? So if you are using AI, AI is getting better though. Excuse me, AI is getting better, but in some cases, it might not just give that context. So the first option is to get somebody who can speak the language or a dual language expert. The second option, like was it Lola or Fumi mentioned here now, is to say, let's was it Busola? Let's localize the storage. So that's one of the things we try to do with Mangrove here. So we can localize the storage, or you can get private AI installations on your system, which means you have a local AI system that you can trust and is sanitized. And once you put corporate documents in it, you can verify it. It is balanced, and you are sure that it's not on the public LLM and it is safe within your environment. So being a financial institution, you should be able to afford a local proprietary AI. In fact, I dare say that the Mangrove is actually for large organizations who have a lot of information to protect, and they don't want to put that information on the public LLM. So you can either get somebody who speaks the language, do a localized storage system, but I cannot verify what you are putting on your system locally. I don't know whether it's still sending information to somebody at the back end. So I like the concept, but I want to verify whatever you are doing in that approach. The alternative is for your organization who is giving you this hard work to also put in something in place that is local, not to your PC, but local to the organization, has the relevant risk governance and all the security, and allows you to do your work perfectly. Okay? I hope that answers your question, Richard.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Robert, sorry, not Richard.
Thank you.
Daniel Ejiga says, I'm new to BA, to BA, and I have not even learning the skills yet. Well, you are very lucky. You're not going to be old school. You are going to learn BA the smart way. So Daniel, learn the AI on one side, learn the BA on the other side. Be the best at AI, and then learn now how to integrate them together. So you don't even have this problem of all the old school guys. So the old school guys will still be learning how to transition. You are learning both at the same time. So it's something you can do together. For Busola, bonjour mademoiselle, or bonjour madame, comment ça va bien? Yes. Okay, so that's it. I see Steve Jobs' hand up, and I see Anthony Agbe. So Steve, then Anthony. You can unmute and ask your questions.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mr. Tosin. Please confirm you can hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you so much, Mr. Tosin. Though my network was not stable, I think when you are talking about OS2, like you were referring to some of us, when you showed a lot of things, the manual way of way people used to create BRG, I was just laughing. I said, in those days, that's what we used to do. But I have also transitioned into the AI, whereby I know a lot of people. What I started was when I was creating the UML, it wasn't straightforward. And you know, too, and any other person here, I was manually creating that. But when I learned the plant UML, I will use AI, generate the script, paste it in Grow.io or any of the IDEs, bam, you will see everything will come perfect, even better than what I used to do. So I appreciate a lot of things you say. I do some of the things you do too, though there are some that I'm still moving to that. But my concern or question is, I work in an organization that deals with international bodies, and we have developed a proposal. Though I wasn't the one, I was not around. One of my subordinates developed. I could not review it. What will you say about issues that organizations, international bodies have systems already designed to upload your document, like your BRD? And that one, everything was saying that it was AI generated. So what will you recommend? I know what to do, but I would like you to maybe say that to others here so that they will know, because it's not just generating with AI. There are other things you need to do. You need to kind of humanize. If not, if you throw it out there, some organization will appreciate your work while some will just finish the contract. So it was something that almost made someone to lose his job in my organization. Thank you very much. I appreciate all the session you ran through. Just how the one can avoid just throwing out the AI generated without much work. Though you mentioned some that you don't just throw anything like that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Before I continue, I would answer your question. Shion, I've seen your question. I missed it. Sorry. I'll answer your question in the chat window. So this is a prompt. You remember I mentioned something about becoming solid at prompts.
Yeah, I am a prompt engineer already. I understand that. Thank you.
No. This is not your response, Steve. I'm not talking to you.
Sorry, please. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I mentioned something about prompts the other time. This is a prompt that I use when I have finished thinking over 6 weeks, 8 weeks. This is what I would use. So you can see that it's going to generate a document with 38 sections for me. And then I break it down. And then I tell it to create ASCII diagrams, explain trade-offs. Here was an AI platform I was building. So all this is my prompt. So my prompt goes on to up to page 8 or page 9. My prompt goes up to page 9. So when I have been doing all the hard work, I export all that hard work. I copy it into a very long document. So maybe my brainstorming for 6 weeks is on 140 or 150 pages. Sometimes I just throw this prompt into the chat window and it gives me everything back. But sometimes I get best results on this with ChatGPT or Claude. If I use this in Gemini, it will just give me summaries and summaries. So even if I did my brainstorming in Gemini, I go and copy that whole context window for 6 months, a very painful process. But when I copy all those things out, I slam it into, what do you call it? I slam it into another window, and then I get a 38 section. So if it's something I'm building for a business that does not need to sell, I would tell it to remove all the go-to-market, sales, pricing, and everything. Just put the necessary context there. So this is a very solid example of building prompts that I've shown you. And I can show you in my ChatGPT how I built that prompt. I'm sorry I'm going backwards, but this is just a little because I don't have time for the practical. So I can show you my ChatGPT how I built that prompt. I have it. So even if you don't know the prompts to use to generate like your PRD or whatever, you can ask the system to teach you how to generate stuff. So You can see the questions I asked, and then you can see the output here. This is another version of that prompt. This is another version of that prompt that gave me some outputs. So you can read this and take a picture and go and tweak this according to your BA language, and let's see what you're going to get. Okay. So for you, Anthony, not Anthony, Steve, the thing is this. It is not AI that is going to replace jobs. It is people who are using AI that are going to replace people who don't use AI. One thing I consistently mentioned was risk and validation. I can't find the slide now, but I always mentioned that you must always have a human in the loop. For everything AI does, you must review. For everything AI executes, you must review. Human in the loop, human on the loop, human out of the loop. So you cannot say I generated it and I gave it to you. No. I'm currently reviewing a contract that somebody gave me. Very, very beautiful contract. And by the time I looked at the terms and conditions, I cannot accept it. So I have started criticizing it with AI. I'm reviewing it, I'm rewriting it. I'm telling the AI tool to do something. The AI tool is doing another thing. I'm knocking its head and knocking its head and knocking its head until it takes me to where I want to go. What am I saying? There's also the part of hallucination. This is something you need to copy or screenshot. If I open my Claude for you now, let me see if I can open it. But if I open it, you'll see some things I don't want you to see. So maybe later on. I always have projects. I always have projects. And in my projects, I always use a lot of documents. So there's a website called welib.org. There's Anna's archive. There's Ocean of PDF. There's almost no book that you want, especially for techies, that you will not find there. So even if I want to write on something that I don't understand, I will go and get a book from any of these 3 sites. They are free. I will get 5 books or 6 books or 8 books and slam it into Notebook LM. There's another tool called PDF Chat PDF. Chat PDF, and it's very cheap. Chat PDF. I think for 1 year, you can pay like $40 or 30-something dollars. I will load, and it allows documents up to 50 documents per chat. If the document is too large, I will go and minimize the document. There are document minimizers that I will put, and it will screen it to 40 meg or 20 meg. So I will never design something by just querying. In fact, this one I'm saying is even far. I will never design anything. These are my 2 best. If ChatGPT wants to charge me now, they must charge me, because this thinking and web search, I don't query anything on ChatGPT or my Gemini is consistently on thinking. I will never query anything without using web search or without thinking. So if the only time I do a chat and the window is empty like this is when I want to ask, who is the president of Ghana? Or what are the best combinations of blue and green? But anytime it is work, I will never, ever ask anything without asking it to think, ever in my life. So that is where you start from. Number 2 is I also give it context from where to go. I don't just say you should do stuff anyhow. And for you as a BA or as a product manager, almost always you will be called into an environment or to work on a project that you don't know anything about. So there is no way you can do research. And I speak as somebody who people come to and say, we have this project, we are stuck on the project, we are lost now, but I fix their problems for them using ChatGPT. And I'm asking that, what am I ChatGPTing that these people did not see? It is because of the way in which I prompt. It is because of the way in which I ask questions. So the same thing applies to you. Number one, you cannot afford to do research without making sure that your data is valid. Number two, you need to be able to prompt the system very well to be able to give you what matters. There is no way this prompt that I have designed, that AI designed for me, there is no way I'm going to use this to build a document that the customer is going to start saying is a problem. Almost impossible. And even as it is building for me, I am reviewing and reviewing and reviewing. And I speak as somebody who has used this project, this kind of method, to win contracts of over $10,000. So when I'm saying this thing works, I'm not saying theory. No, I've used this method to win contracts and deals of over $10,000. And when I went into the system, I almost did not know anything about it. Of course, you cannot compare me. You cannot compare me with somebody else. I have a lot of experience. I'm a polymath. I know a lot about a lot of things. I'm not a jack of all trades, no, but I'm a polymath. So that is also there. But when you are prompting properly, and then one thing I do when I'm prompting, you can see something here about architecture. I don't play with architecture. I don't play with visualization. When the thing is telling me things and I'm tired of reading, I'll just say, give me a mermaid diagram, give me an ASCII diagram. If you go to the end, give me a mermaid diagram, give me an ASCII diagram. When it gives me a mermaid diagram, can you see? Give me an architecture mermaid, give me a mermaid diagram, give me an ASCII diagram. I'm going to throw it back inside and tell it to visualize it for me, which is how we generate beautiful things like this. So when somebody does work for you, you cannot afford to submit it like that, knowing that the person probably used AI. A lot of people are now becoming experts by talking to chatbots, but you cannot afford to let that make you lose your job or risk your job. You need to verify expertise. You need to verify skills. Like I said, I've seen someone sitting with a chatbot and he's challenging 15 years of expertise, hands-on expertise. So you also need to be able to find a way of doing research and review. We spoke about review somewhere here. Human reviews. We spoke about reviews somewhere in the process. You cannot not review. You can't not review. And that review has to be properly done in a very structured way. So I apologize on behalf of the person who did that bad job, but reviewing is important. Even building with knowledge base is important. So you cannot build out of context. You need to build with context and you need to review whatever it is that is being built. I'll stop there, but I hope with these few words of mine, I've been able to convince you and not confuse you. Now, back to, before I take your question, Anthony, Mr. Tokwe, I am not looking at my phone, so if you've been sending me secret messages, I am not ignoring you. I cannot see them. So if you need me to stop, please, I will not feel bad. Tell me on the call too that it's time for me to round up, or you can send me a private message. But I'm not
Please
looking at my
go
phone,
ahead.
right?
Go
Okay.
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you. Now, in the process of automation, or in the era of process automation, okay, thank you, Mr. Robert. In the era of process automation, yes. So there is the roles are evolving now, Sean O. The roles are evolving. In the recent past, a BA or a PM, when I say PM now, I mean product manager, will be required to build skills according to document management. I said my web designer lost his job or lost a deal. He has not lost his job fully yet, but he has lost a deal. My web designer is not the only guy that lost a deal. In 2022, I was begging one guy to collect $200 or something for a strategy I wanted to do, because I was building an organization and I needed some forward thinking for that organization. And I needed a product and strategy roadmap. I was begging the guy. The painful fact is that he's a Nigerian. He was on Upwork and he was charging me $500 by force by fire. And I was saying, bro, you're Nigerian, I'm Nigerian, you're a Yoruba guy. I mean, can we? The guy said no. He said, no, 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 no. Unfortunately for the guy, around that time, ChatGPT came out. As ChatGPT came out, and as a sharp guy that I am, all the questions I had in my head, I threw it to ChatGPT. In less than 3 hours, I got everything for free. I've never paid for ChatGPT so far. I got it for free. So that guy lost $500, lost me, lost my contact, lost everything. Okay, I hate building PowerPoint slides because of the hard work, but I love beautiful decks. And then I've been begging a lady to build decks for me and everything. She was charging me $200 and everything. Ever since I tumbled on Kimi and Claude, I don't talk to those kind of people anymore. I can get you to do research for me, but I'm not going to get you to build my decks for me anymore. And I just pay $17 or $18 to get that done. What am I saying? You cannot be a document pushing expert anymore. You cannot. So organizations need you to bring some more power. I used to work in Microsoft. My last role was a little bit not technical. We were governance and all those guys. They started encouraging our governance and account managers to start getting technical. So all the documentation work is being done. Like I said, somebody was arguing with me on something because he had a document to look at. So if I say I bring onto a document which you shall read and obey, it's going to it's not any value. You can get it for less. And me, I will not charge him $17 to do the document. At least it will be 100, smallest 100. So you'll get it for cheap. So you cannot be a document pusher and you cannot be carrying file up and down like the days of our parents. So you need to have some skills that make you valuable better than the next person. So if you are able to learn skills around automation, able to learn skills around low code, no code, you're able to design a mock-up, you're able to do a workflow, you're able to simulate it and show how it will work. Please don't go and now say because you're able to do Replit or Lovable, you are better than the developer. Please, those guys did a lot of work. You can never be the same with them. You can try to simulate, but don't go and start arguing with your developer that is not like that. No. But we want you to be able to now bring to life one of the things that you are able to do. One of the deals I worked on recently, I had to show them, they said, prepare for a demo. Demo, how? You have not paid. Demo, what? Thank God for AI. 2, 3, 4 prompts. I had a working HTML page. I click, I show them, it will go like this. My mouth entered the solution. Then my mouth became the database. But I was able to give them a nice, beautiful interface of what I had in my head. So it was no more PowerPoint slide. It was a nice, beautiful. After that, the guy said, I still don't understand how we want it to work. Are you sure that we're not buying a new tool? So this enterprise hub, what is this enterprise hub about? I was able to put my architecture out and say, okay, that is the architecture and this is the stack. So where am I going? I know I've over answered your question, but where I'm going is that you cannot be a document pusher and a Google expert. You need to have some level of depth in whatever you are doing now. You need to know how the stacks work. You need to know what is front end, what is back end. Why should we be using Angular? Why should we be using .NET? Why should we be using Node.js and so on? What are we going to use for visualization, etc., etc.? If there's need for low-code tools like Nintex, not Nintex, like N8N, like N8N, like Make, like Zapier. I know someone who does a beautiful job of training. You can go and learn from her. if you are smart and you are self-driven, I can share with you a lot of libraries on YouTube. You sit down there in 3 days, you know the thing yourself. But there are other tools that connect, click, 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 drag, 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 and people who are doing it are not as half as intelligent as you are. So you cannot afford to be a document pusher. A document pusher is like a clerk in the days of our fathers, carrying folder and file from place to place. You are better than that. That's why we want to pay you premium money. You cannot be carrying file and folder up and down inside your laptop. You need to start having some swag and some value. So that answers your question, I hope, Shion. Thank you. Thank you. Anthony, then I'll come to Ahmad. Anthony, I agree your question, please. Okay, Anthony is not responding. Ahmad, what do you recommend for you to know whether an AI agent should be introduced into the process? I think I'll ask myself, does this process need to be automated? If this process needs to be automated, how much of automation do we need to have? If you're able to identify how much automation you need to have, and if these projects need to be automated, then it's probably a good candidate for an AI agent. Or if this thing is, let me give an example, a big example. I remember there was some analysis I did for a customer. They had a lot of tickets that were breaching. The tickets were breaching. And then we now said, why are they always having tickets breaching? Then we did the dashboard, we did the analysis. What did the analysis tell us? The first thing it told us that there was a particular type of case that constituted most of the case breaches. And then what type of case was it? It was a security case. What was it? It was a password change. Okay, why are they getting password changes? Why are the password changes breaching? And we now saw that people are requesting for password change between 5 p.m. and 8 a.m. the next morning. And the SLA platform had been set that if this request is not dealt with within 4 hours, it's going to breach. Right. So what do we have to do now? We need to find a way of doing password resets in the middle of the night. If those requests are valid, of course. So we have to, that is a to be automated workflow. But if, for example, salaries are delayed and somebody needs to be paying every time, but the MD is always traveling, and on auto pay or the banking app, if the MD does not click approve, salaries cannot be paid. Should we automate that one? Maybe we should not automate it as a workflow. Maybe we need to have more than 2 or 3 people who can click approve, ED, deputy MD, or whatever. So that's a classic example. Salary can be delayed for 2 or 3 days because the MD is stuck in the air or is in a strategic session and he cannot approve. But we cannot just automate that one. Do you understand what I'm saying? So there are things that we need to balance, but if it is a process, or for example, I am building a platform now that requires people to be able to create a shop. Once they pay, to create a shop for them. And when it creates that shop, it sets up their username and password on the platform, and a lot of things would happen for them. That is a workflow that I don't need to manually do. I will automate it, agents. So payment agent, success, hand over to user creation agent. User creation agent, hand over to profiling agent. Profiling agent, hand over to verification agent. Verification agent, hand over to communication agent or whatever. That's I can do. So there's no framework. It's just a rule of thumb to say, what are we automating, how sensitive it is, and a couple of things like that. So it's a rule of thumb thing. Anthony, can you talk now? Or should we go to Alberto? After 3, 3, 2, 1. Alberto, please ask the question.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, we can hear you, Anthony.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you for your presentation. Thank you also for the insights into this space. I've always seen it from 1 or 2 documents, but I think you have brought it closer now to me. I wanted to find out because I've had a funny experience in the past. I've worked with some of your guys in InterSwitch at a point in time, but with I was also in banking and all that. I was called to run a particular project, also a financial institution, and I'll thank God that I think this BA experience really helped me. But what we all said and done, the only thing that I kind of lacked, and I saw it after I left the project, was stakeholder management. And I don't know whether you can touch a bit on that when it comes to AI agents and all that, because a lot of people, there's kind of a shock that they get when you are able to bring a solution that close. Truth of the matter is that I'm not in IT and all that. I started my university days in industrial chemistry, went into banking, from banking, finance, and a bit into IT. But it was just microservices as a topic that I got hold of that got me the job of building a digital bank for this institution. But where I think we failed, or yeah, I can say we failed, is because of stakeholder management. A lot of people can't seem to get grasp of the fact that what they get, what they use donkey years or a few months, or a lot of weeks or days or months to understand and grapple, you are able to, or rather, we were able to push it down and make it work. But sometimes we move too fast, to get a solution, and they walked right behind us to choke us in the neck, and that's how we're pushed out of the project. You know how people behave. But I just wanted to find out, what will you advise when it comes to the whole, and now that's even on BA alone. But now I'm going into using AI to solve BA problems. It's almost like light years away from 2023 or 2024 when that project stopped. How will stakeholder management look like now, and how do we manage individuals to come to grips with the fact that things are moving faster than where they are in terms of creating solution, process management, and PRDs, etc. Thank you.
So you've answered your question yourself. So you're just looking for the Reverend Father who is going to say, go in peace and sin no more.
Thank you very much. Maybe, but let's hear
it. So the thing is this. Okay, let me give you an example. I'm currently working on a project now, and it's not a big project. It's a simple AI graphics course. Teach people how to use AI to create graphics. And a school of thought comes in to say, come on, everybody knows how to use AI to create graphics now. Why do you want to waste your time doing that? But a bigger school of thought comes to say, when you think people have learned how to use tools and stuff, that is when they are just beginning to understand it. What am I trying to say? The people are not usually as forward-thinking and as smart as you think they are. That's harsh, that's hard, but it's the truth. So what you need to do, and it's all over the world, in some places in the world, for those of you who are in the UK, US, and some other countries, you will see that you have to change some. I mean, there are some people that I know that I cannot find on LinkedIn today because they've funkified their name to match along. Not everybody's crazy like Tosin, who is going to remain Tosin. But I think my parents were kind. They did not give me a name that had G, B, D, E inside. So I'm a bit lucky. So maybe I won't fight them. But it just shows the way the human race is. Some people, once they cannot see John, Mary, James, Sean, Peter, that person is not a human being. They are not going to look at him first, no matter what you bring to the table. Sorry to use that, but I digress. Now, in terms of human capacity, you also need to understand that people are egotic figures. Then if it's my brothers that are there a lot, it makes the case worse. Because sometimes it's not that they don't know what you are saying is right. It's not like they don't believe it, but they're afraid of losing their jobs. So one thing that you need to learn to hear or do is to read the room. Maybe that's one thing you didn't do. So you agree that you were faster than them, but probably you did not learn to read the room. One thing you also need to know is you need to, I heard from a comedian who said somebody did not just approve in those years, I think it was Alibaba or one of those early time comedians, said the manager just refused to approve his fees because for coming to make them laugh at their annual gala party or something, he was collecting the man's 6 months salary for one night of stand-up comedy. Again, I digress. But sometimes it's not that they are not moving as fast. It's just that they are afraid that if you bring this thing, they will lose their job. So they will use excuses. And of course, if they do not claim that they are pastors or they are imams or whatever, they will lie. There's nothing more dangerous than a desperate man or woman. So they probably would have given you signs that you were moving too fast. You probably did not get that sign, but now you are wiser. So sometimes you don't go to war shining all your weapons. Shining all your weapons to show. You remember, let me digress again. In the United States, Mr. T wanted to do an arms parade, the way China and Russia do arms parade. And though he has been having his way vetoing a lot of things to say, maybe China is doing it, maybe Russia is doing it, oh yeah, let's do our own. The Ministry of Defense said, lie, we are not doing. Lie, we are not doing. And you saw what they did in last year, where they flew 28 hours to drop bomb and go back. You understand what I'm saying? So you don't go to war shining all your tools. You need to have an ace that you always hide. So even if you finish the work, let me give another example. I only hope the person I'm talking about is not on this call. There is a project that we are talking about somewhere. And in my mind, the document, I was given a kind of scope documents or something like that. In my mind, I've already done the work of weeks 1 to 4. I've already done the work of weeks 1 to 4. And I'm like, give me this, give me that. If you give me these 3 documents, I'll get all this done. They said, no, we need to do this, we need to do that. And I tried to prove to them, and they say we are not provable. What does that do? You have made my life easy. You are not affecting my pay. Okay, let's take it easy. So even though I know that the week 1 to 4 is 2 days work or 3 days work, I've tried to show them, they've refused to see it. Then I step back. I learned something in Microsoft. Sometimes you go in to fix a problem. You see that they have 25 problems, but if you are told to go and fix 3 problems, my friend, please focus on those 3 problems. Maybe they are planning to fix the next 2 problems in the next contract. So if you go and fix all the 25 problems at once, your company will not have any contract next year, and you probably will not have a job. So wisdom, this is not even a BA question. This is a coaching, mentorship, wisdom, entrepreneur question. So the world is not as fast as we think it is. I promise you that a lot of organizations today are just at the stage of building their AI policy. Yes, 4 years after ChatGPT, they are just finalizing, and these are big banks, like banks of the banks. They are just building their AI policy. They are just saying, yeah, we are finalizing it. It is in process. The chiefs 2023 or 2024, you're now telling them that we will use AI. No, you're not going to get it right. So maybe some terms you used to use, maybe you shouldn't even be using terms like AI. So you should be using terms like we will automate the process with some back-end integration. You know, all these things are just wisdom. I'll pause there so that I can attend to other people. But if you need to hear more, you can buzz me or go to my website and just book a session. It's free. just book a session on my calendar and then we can talk more. But I hope you get the gist, Anthony. Yes, Alberto.
Yeah. Thank you, Tosin. Mine just a question, but before that, I would just want to say a very big thank you for the expose. It's been quite informative. So as you can imagine, we still have a number of people on the call. So you mentioned about a tool is it for building slides? I think is it Kimi or so? I didn't get it. I wanted you to
Yeah,
type.
It's Kimi.
If you could be kind enough to type, that'll be fine.
Kimi AI.
KIMI. All right.
Yes. So the thing it
Okay.
does,
Okay.
Claude also does it. But the difference between Kimi and Claude is that whatever work you give Kimi will finish the work. Claude will come back and tell you, I'm building. Petrol has finished. Come back in 4 hours' time. But for the same amount, Kimi will build the slide and finish it. Even if you tell it, I want more, tweak it, modify it, it will build the slide. There's a way you can build it and it will do the work for you halfway. Then you need to build a new slide deck. But there's also a way you do it that it will keep modifying the slide. So there are two ways. Gamma limits. I hate people that hide. You build 10 slides and then they say, come and pay $20 more. Something like that. That's the problem I have with Gamma. They will say you cannot ask more than 15 questions. You cannot ask more than 20 questions. Or you cannot have more than 24 slides. With Kimi, it is endless. It will give you, if you don't tell it how to build it though, it can restrict the number of slides. So I always put something like, I tell it the color scheme. Don't give me a dark theme. Give me a bright scheme, white background. Use as many slides as possible. So at the end of the day, I can get a 40 slide deck, a 50 slide deck. I like using plenty slides. Like the slide deck I showed you today was 56 slides, but you will not know it's 56 slides because why? This is one slide. I will talk about it. This is another slide. These are different slides. So I may spend 30 seconds on this slide, but I prefer to have these 3-4 slides separate than to squeeze all of them into one slide. So anything that tells me that I'm going to limit you to 20 slides, I'm not going to use it, but it can work. But if you start limiting me to slides, I'm not going to use it. So Kimi is my first choice, but Claude has some other things that it does separately from Kimi. So I somehow prefer Claude, but I'm tired of Petrol finishing inside Claude. So I'm considering either when I launch my Savannah project, I'll find a way to balance between Kimi and Claude. But I like Kimi. Whatever work you give Kimi, it will finish it. You can give Claude a job and it will tell you Petrol has finished and you have a presentation in the next 45 minutes. So which means you have to, find another way. Petrol finishes quickly on Claude. Yeah. Thank you, Daniel. I'm blushing. All right. I think I've answered everybody's questions. It's been a wonderful 2 hours. Looking forward to come back to your community. Your community is a very interesting one. I like the way you ask questions and they are very intelligent questions. Makes me proud of being a Nigerian. We are one of the most intelligent people in the world. Everywhere I go, I'm always proud to work with a Nigerian because I know that my problems have been reduced by half. And you've proven that to me again tonight. Thank you very much. I think Mr. Tokwe, it's over to you. And yeah.
Thank you so much, Professor Tosin. I think we need to give you a professor at this very point in time.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. This is eye-opening, and I believe for everyone on the call, you'll see that if you actually absorb all of this information, it's going to take you several steps ahead of your peers. And I believe it should not stop here, right? We're going to work out one or two programs on how we can get Mr. Tosin on board and, so that we can have maybe a bit of your brain and, you can pass it or impact us with the level of work that you've done so far. We are sincerely grateful from the IBA board and also the community. Thank you for taking out time to share your works with us, and I'm sure everybody enjoyed the program. So here's me saying thank you once again, and we look forward to having you soon again. Is there any other thing anybody wants to
Where's the
say?
one that you brought up? I'm ready for you. Let's smoke.
All right then.
Excuse me.
So thank you, Mr. Tosin. So we'll be communicating sometime soon again. Bye for
Thank you
now.
very
much, Mr. Tosin. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ayo. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.